Hey, it's your buddies here at Cinema Cullen doing some more short trekking. Short trekking, that's right. That's Rob and Butch and Rob doing our short audio treks. I think that's the uncomfortable title I came up with for this set of voyages. Short audio treks. I'm Butch, and my buddy Rob is here, so let's say hey to my buddy Rob.
Hi, Butch. It is not good to be here tonight. I do not want... What am I saying?
Yes. See, here's something. You may never have heard of this, but you've been dosed with something called a truth serum, which we just invented for this podcast. Never been heard from before, but we came up with this. So we're
Was
about
it part of the Alan Parsons project?
Give us your truthful thoughts on the Alan Parsons project. Yes, exactly. So we, as we said in the last episode, the first episode of this channel, our buddy Dom Reyes got us each 3 episode disc, an LP of Star Trek short stories that were originally made for comic books. So although some of them, this one it turns out did not have a comic book adaptation. So not all of them did have comic books. Some of them did. They at least so far, the 2 were written by Alan Dean Foster, who has done a lot of Trek writing. He did all the Star Trek logbooks and some of the episodes that the logbooks were based on the animated episode series. And he's done the first 2 of these. I didn't get any spoilers, but I look in the future and see, did he write all this? It turns out, Rob and I did not know this when last we spoke on air, but we have discovered that there are 11 of these. We have 3 on LP, but all 11 are available on the internet, on the YouTube. So that gives us something to keep us busy to do. The next one's only 11 and a half minutes long. So really it's like, it feels like, yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing you want to just do to cleanse your palate between things to do during the Christmas holiday and all that stuff. So what'd you think about this one? First opening thoughts.
Opening thoughts, it's 10 times funnier than the entirety of Home Alone. It was a fun, breezy 15 and a half minutes, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was entertaining, silly. The voice acting was a mixed bag, which only added to the gold. And they apparently, this reminds me of... the James Blish books a little bit, where it's like, has this, have they seen Star Trek? I mean, some of the stuff was, pretty non-canonical. I'm talking about the Romulan hegemony and
the Romulan hegemony really was that. So in the lore, I think in the animated series they introduce a species. You remember how we talked about the cat person who's on the crew, Lieutenant Maress in the last one? She's of a different race, but they meet up with a race of feline aliens called the Kzinti in the animated series, and they're like bad guys, right? The Kzinti are also cat people, different cat people than Lieutenant Maress, it turns out, and they are called the hegemony, the Kzinti hegemony. So it's like so maybe he was like, I remember the hegemony, we'll just call him hegemony or whatever. So they also at some point call him the Romulan sphere or something like that. I was like, that seems weird. But it is interesting.
It was all cool. All the names were cool. They just weren't what Star Trek has always called them. So it made me go, do they even know what the hell they're talking about?
Well, on the subject of cool names, how do you feel about Jack Sprat? Or more importantly, how do you feel about about Kirk not getting the reference? I'm Jack Sprat. Oh, I've never heard that name before. That's a weird name. You've heard that before. Come on, man.
Well, he's too hung up on like Tombstone, Arizona. He doesn't have time to learn every, nursery rhyme or whatever.
Here's the sad thing about this. This episode, once again, does not feature Ensign Chekhov. And I figured out why. You know that Chekhov is not in the animated series at all, right? And so if they're doing these as like an extension of the animated series, we're not going to see Chekhov in this. And it's sad that we're not going to see Chekhov in this, because the whole time I'm thinking the world is dying for a jigoof. We got to bust Andrew Dice Clay out, because Andrew Dice Clay has a whole bit on Jack Sprat, who can eat no fat, and his wife can eat no lean, which we're not going to tell here because, kids, go out and do a YouTube search for Jack Sprat, Andrew Dice Clay.
Some of that good truth serum, they'll spill.
Yeah, their parents will know it. I still remember visiting my aunt's house, and my aunt and my grandma and I were all there, and my mom and I am regaling all of them with all of the nursery rhymes from Andrew Dice Clay. And my aunts thought it was funny as hell. My mom, less so. My grandma, less so. But my aunts thought it was hilarious. So
I was I don't remember why. Oh, I think it was. It might have been one time when Natalie was going to Wazoo for a year, but we were on a little day trip or something out there in Eastern Washington for some reason, and I said, "You want to listen to a comedy album?" And I was playing Andrew Dice Clay, and I'm just dying. I looked over at her, and she was just horrified. So
it's either like it or you don't, and it's hard to learn to like it if you don't start liking it, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Dice isn't for everybody, and you better have liked him in high school, or you're probably not gonna. But
so let's get back to the show. So we do meet Klingons and Romulans, as you mentioned, which is interesting because in the original series we met Klingons and we met Romulans, and we even heard that Klingons and Romulans have a treaty, but we never saw in the original series episodes. We never saw Klingons and Romulans together. You have to wait until you get to what? Star Trek 6, Star Trek 5, and Star Trek 6 both do, right?
Yeah. Star Trek 5, you got that Nimbus planet.
In Star Trek 6, you got a Romulan ambassador Nonclus who's like lurking around and apparently involved in the conspiracy and all that stuff. Spoilers. We're going to do episode review. We're going to do reviews of both those movies at some point.
Oh yeah, we are.
All right. So spoiler alert on that. So, but it's interesting. So we meet Koft.
We'll have to do it, which we'll have to do them during an Eagles game, and like, oh, sorry, Jade, missed that one. Yeah.
Exactly. We're 2-0 for not having Jay join us for the Star Trek movie so far. So we're batting 1,000. All right. So the Klingons we meet are Koft and Katal, a captain and first officer of the IKC Avenger, and they do call the Klingon Empire an empire, so good for them. And then we meet Bendis and Ruox, who are Romulan envoys.
Well, give us the setup, Butch. Like, what is, because it's pretty similar to last week.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've learned that the Enterprise has been ordered to ferry some Federation representatives to a conference on a neutral planet called Pamplans. I didn't know till they looked it up what that actually was. I heard it in 19 different ways. I was like, Pamplans. Okay, that's what it's called. Every time I wrote it down in my notes, I wrote it differently until I actually looked it up, and then it says Pamplance. I don't know if it's a made-up word or an actual place or whatever, but that's where our conference is, and the conference is to discuss conflicting claims to the planet WWB7. And yeah, last week they were kind of like dueling with the Klingons over a planet last week too, weren't we?
Yeah. So I mean, and that was the premise of Troubles and some other episodes.
The what?
Too,
the what?
So.
Yeah, exactly. So I did that joke 2 weeks in a row. That's unfair. That's totally unprofessional of me. Yeah. So the interesting thing is, like I said, we had spent a lot of time in the original series with the Klingons and the Federation both trying to get planets. Rarely did we see the Romulans trying to negotiate for planets. They were just hunting the Enterprise for whatever reason, right? Every time we see them, they're shooting at the Enterprise just because they don't like us, I guess. But now we're all dueling over it. We learned that it's a metal-rich planet. We don't know what metals, presumably copper and aluminum. I don't know. We'll see. Transparent aluminum planet? I don't know. Maybe it's that. Who knows? And the interesting thing, I said the Enterprise is ordered to ferry the Federation representatives, and then we learned those representatives are Kirk and Spock. Go right to the source and just appoint our two heroes to go be negotiators. That's fine. It's great.
But you know what I enjoyed about this is we get one of the finest examples of Scotty ever recorded. I enjoyed this tremendously. Just a bit part in this episode, but
yes,
I was picturing Leif Erikson. I'm not gonna lie, but flaming red hair and the whole bit. But yeah, he's leaning into the Scottish brogue and the
yeah, I thought Lieutenant Morris used up all the Scottish brogue last week with very yeah, but you know who else gets one line in this episode, and that's Mr. Kyle gets a line in this episode because he orders Mr. Kyle to beam them down, and Kyle's like, "Aye, sir," or whatever. So good for you, whoever.
Cowell?
Yeah, I wrote that down. I was like, "Cowell?" ? That's the reason you let Scotty say it and not Kirk say it. I would have been funny if the guy doing a Kirk impression would have mispronounced it like Shatner did. That would have been funny. But we didn't get a chance to see that. Maybe we got 9 more episodes. Maybe we'll get a Lieutenant Cowell.
Now, are these all the same voice actors? Because I recognize, kind of pissed off Bones.
Yes, we only get a little bit of him too.
And real hit or miss Spock.
Yeah.
He'll sound, one line will sound Spock-like, and another line will sound nothing like Spock.
Well, you know what it is? He's slipping in and out of, deflector is full intensity! That's what he's doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes he's just way too aggro for Spock. But we seen aggro Spock in the original series in that first episode, because he's all yelly. Yeah. He's yelly Spock, right? So
yelly Spock, yeah.
That's fair.
Inspired by Paul Stanley. Yeah.
All right, so let's see if I had anything else I wanted to say here. Okay, so then we'll save the rest for the walkthrough. Yeah, go ahead.
Would you say that the negotiations start off kind of weird?
Yeah, it's really weird. And again, we don't have a lot of time, so they're going to quickly jump right into those negotiations. You want to just go ahead and let's talk about the episode itself here?
Let's do it,
Right. So we get a captain's log. I said we're going to get captain's log for every one of these episodes. 5442.8 is the captain's log. Kirk and Spock are Federation representatives to the metal-rich planet WWB7. That sounds like a station where they would have broadcast the National Wrestling Alliance in the early 80s, right? It's like broadcasting in live on great stations like WWB7, Atlanta, Georgia. Yeah.
Western States Heritage Champion. Yeah,
That's
Bill
right.
Dundee versus Terry Taylor.
Ooh, that's an oldie but a goodie. All right, so they're going to Pomplance. I had written that down as Conference World, but it's Pomplance is what it is, and they're going to meet with the Klingon and Romulan envoys. That's right. And then we get Scotty wishing well to Kirk, who says, "Yeah, well, maybe we'll get to look around and stuff there." And he's like, Spock's like, "We're too busy. Way to go, Mr. Buzzkill."
You gonna give us a little taste of Scotty?
Yeah, and then Scotty's disappointed. He's like, haggis. Beam him in, Mr. Kale, or something like that. And he's like, "Aye, sir." So that's great. Yeah, so we get the good Scotty in there, and that's fine. We will get one more hit of Scotty if just as we're hitting our withdrawal symptoms are hitting their worst, we get one more hit of Scotty to get us through the rest of the episode. So that's great. So they beam down as Mr. Cal beams them down, and they're greeted by a man named Amalog. I think it's Amalog. Is how you write that down?
It doesn't matter.
Amalar, yes, it's Amalar, and he is on the board of something or other. I think his official title, according to the internet, is Bureau of Interstellar Affairs. And he's gonna proctor the meeting or whatever, right? So we have all these antagonizing people, and he's like the neutral observer who's going to make sure nothing goes wrong. ...
He's basically chairing the committee, but not affiliated with any political party. Am I right about this?
That's pretty much it. That's exactly right. So he escorts him into the conference bubble. I thought that was funny because, again, it's an audio episode, so we're left to our own imagination to wonder what a conference bubble looks like. Is it like the cone of silence in Get Smart, or is it something like you remember when they did one of the Phoenix books and there was a conference and there was like a transparent dome that they were in that one too, or something like that?
No, but I did think of. I'll tell you at the end where I thought of the Phoenix books.
Okay, that's good. So then he's like, yeah. So anyway, he says, "I'll take you in there, and you can meet Klingon." The Klingon leader Koft is there, and then the other and also the other Federation envoy, and they're like, what? Well, there's not what other Federation? Spock sounds like flat out violent. He's like ready to kick somebody in the face.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from.
I know Anthony Joshua needs to channel some.
He's ready to throttle somebody. What do you mean another? And they're like, well, yeah, he said he was here. We didn't have any reason not to think he was official. So I believe his name is Sprat. And I was like, are they going to go Jack Sprat? Jack Sprat. I had enough time to think, Jack Sprat, really?
Someone needed to take Alan aside and go, "Are you sure about this?
Yes.
This is what you're coming up with, Jack Sprat."
I know, and the thing is, Kirk does not get the reference, and we're right back to our conversation we always have with Jay. Is that in 300 years nobody's going to remember those nursery rhymes from the late 1800s? So maybe he's got something there, because I was surprised that he didn't get the reference. But if they maybe are actually going, look, Kirk's not going to know nursery rhymes from the 1800s. They probably
why have it? Yeah, I don't.
Because it's a kid's story, right? I mean, they're thinking the kids will all get the reference, right? I guess kids today wouldn't get the reference. Who's going to get the reference? Andrew Dice Clay fans. That's who's going to get the reference.
I could see a Pinocchio reference. I don't really understand why they had a Jack Sprat reference, but whatever.
It makes no sense. It makes no sense. Maybe he could eat no fat. I don't know. Anyway, so they arrive to an argument. The Klingon is smarmily happy to see them. Both the Klingons and the Romulans do their intros. It's very formal, so that's cool. We're going to get to hear each of their voice actors kind of doing an imitation of what Klingons are like and what Romulans are like. And I think they came close enough to them. Yeah. It's definitely a Mark Leonard performance as a Romulan, I think, that we get from them. So that's fine. And then the Klingons are glad that whatever this little spat they've been having about this planet is being rectified with this, and they decide to share a traditional toast, which is fun. It's brought forward by the Romulan. Spock, of course, partakes, which is strange. Are you sure? But Spock is like realizing, presumably, that it's his role as an envoy to kind of do what the envoys do, right? So,
yeah. He's not getting hammered with a Klingon like he does in Strange New Worlds, but yeah, Spock's been known to partake once in a while.
So you say that, and then the first thing out of his mouth is something that's not Spock-like. So my first thought is, dude, that hit him pretty hard, because he's like already interrupting as soon as somebody is in there. Hey, who's that over in the back of the room? He says, kind of a thing. That's very strange. And they're like, who, me? And it's Sprat. He calls himself a neutral observer. Kirk is dubious, but Spock is all mumbly and swears he's seen that face somewhere before. Somewhere. I have not seen that face since. Okay, yeah. Anyway, so it's really weird. And then things really get strange, right? So then the Klingons start talking. What happens?
Oh, they're saying, well, our claim is completely baseless and based on a mountain of tenuous bullshit. And they're like, huh?
What did I just say?
And the Romulan guy says something similar. Oh, well, that's because ours also is based on hearsay by someone who probably wasn't ever there. And
yeah, and then Kirk is like, yeah, well, our claim, the Federation claim, is valid under subsection 6 of this treaty, which is dubious of legitimacy at best. Wait, what? So they're all like they're all like saying what the other side should be saying about them, right? It's interesting.
Yeah.
And then that leads to several examples of name calling and threats, and similar things are exchanged. And they're all, of course, like, why are none of us acting correct? Hey, and also, could it be that Yutz over there, Sprat, what is he doing? They immediately turn to him and suspect him, and Spock has been like wondering all along. And then Spock literally just flat out grabs him and starts threatening him. Tells him to keep quiet and calls him Mr. Quince. And I was like, hold on. And I'm searching my memory banks. Where do we know Quince from? Mr. Quince. Quince is like Quincy M.E. From the late 70s TV. Is he that the Los Angeles County Coroner? I couldn't remember what it's from. Did you try to drag your memory to see if you remembered who that name was from?
Who was the guy in Jaws? That wasn't Quince, was it?
Quint. Close.
Oh.
It was Quint. Quince versus Quint. It's very close. When I hear Quint, it makes me think of White Men Can't Jump, because Rosie Perez gets on Jeopardy and she gets foods that start with a letter Q, and one of the answers she gives is, "What is a quince?" That's basically that's everything I know about quince is what it is.
Do you think it is Q?
Yeah. Oh. Well, I will put it this way. I'm the whole time I'm thinking he's like, there's a Superman villain called Mr. Mixelplick, who's like just some little guy with a hat who has like power to change reality, and he causes all sorts of trouble. And it felt a little bit like this, but he's This guy is not nearly as powerful. We learned from Spock that he's Coriolanus Quince. By the way, I searched for Coriolanus, and all you get is a stupid, dumb Shakespeare play. Yeah. I say dumb because I don't know. I really don't know anything about that play. Doesn't mean it's dumb. It just means that's one of the ones I don't know anything about, Coriolanus.
Yeah.
Other than it's been a Jeopardy answer a few times. And so we learned that Coriolanus Quince has quite a history. He is a veteran troublemaker. And again, I'm sitting here going, I've never heard of him. Am I supposed to have heard of him? And then they're going to...
Is he a poor man's Harry Mudd? I mean,
It feels like... I'll tell you who he is in a sec. Okay, so this is what we learned. We learned that he's caused a lot of trouble, and Spock's going to lay out the case against him. I was like, here's where we're going to figure it out. If any of these things sound familiar, then we'll know where we've heard from him, right? I was like, was he one of the hippies on, heading out to Eden? I don't know. Maybe he was one of those guys. It turns out not. He's an inventor of an undetectable something or other, blah blah blah. What is it? Undeniable genius and dubious motives, or rather, undeniable motives and dubious genius. I think that's what Spock describes him as.
It was fun, the guy, and they had a great Weasley voice for this guy.
Yes.
What is it, Captain? I'm not, and I was like,
I'm just a guy. Yeah.
I was like, he sounded like he was from a 40s gangster movie,
I'll talk. Tell me what you want to know. I'll talk. Okay. Oh, yeah. So listen, this is what I'm thinking at this point. So I'm realizing we don't know who it is. We've never heard of this guy before. They say he's caused like serious problems on other planets, like problems like collapsed an ecosystem. I'm going to say this, and it
the water supply into Jello.
Yeah, and are we going to be just okay with them not using like gelatin, but saying Jello, like the brand Jello? Are we cool with that?
Here's what I thought about that, because if you remember the Hitchcock classic Psycho,
I do.
The private investigator goes, if it's not gelling, it ain't aspic.
Yes, that is correct. Yes,
and that by the time we saw that movie in the 80s,
none of us got
stated.
that.
We didn't even know what the hell that was.
But we know what Jello is. That's right.
But we know what Jello is. So, Jello has legs. Jello has the kind of staying power that's going to make it to the 23rd century, I believe, Butch. So
yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, here I'll say it right now. Like, if you need to sneeze, what do you grab? You grab a Kleenex, right? No, you don't. Yep. You grab a facial tissue. Kleenex is a brand of facial tissue, but we all call it Kleenex because that is how you own the brand right there. The thing is, we're buying some other brand and we think we're buying Kleenex. That's the reason it doesn't help them. Yep. All right, so listen, I was a little bothered by that, but I'm going to let it go. So Quint admits to spiking their wine that they had their drink with a truth serum, which is going to make negotiations hard. And they might go, truth serum, a truth serum, as he wants 1 million credits or whatever. I'm not sure what the trade. But anyway, and so I'm just saying they might be reacting a little hard when they're like, look, this truth serum is going to be problematic. Indeed, governments will collapse, this is a commentary on like politics right here, right? Yeah, you want people to tell the truth. I mean, the society will fall if people tell the truth. But first it's going to be the government.
I don't think our government will last 5 minutes.
Well, they're about to go into an explanation about how every human interaction requires the ability to lie. And so, okay, now I'm ready to talk about where I'm at here. So I believe in times past on our podcast, I have mentioned a friend of ours who went through his phase of the ardent belief that if people just told the truth all the time, the world would be a better place. So
you're talking about the Bushkowski principle?
Coriolanus Bushkowski. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Vince Bushkowski, who was a big ardent proponent of tell the truth all the time. And we're seeing it in action here, and we're seeing the failure of that. So in Vince's case, it was telling girls that he liked their boobs. But in this case, it's which is a good argument against it. But in this case, the Romulans compete to see which is going to get to kill him and how they're going to get to kill him.
Who could get away with that? Reed Brogdon.
Oh yeah, Reed Brogdon got away with that all the time. Oh, Reed, you scamp! Oh, you get down with your bad self, Reed. Yeah.
You know who? So here's where my conspiracy theory comes in, Butch.
Yeah.
I believe that this galactically notorious troublemaker of dubious motives, is Omni.
Oh, the Phoenix himself.
Omni himself. If you remember the legend, from the 20th century, the legend of the 98-pound weakling on the beach.
Yeah.
Right, who gets sand kicked in his face.
Yes. Goes off and
starts lifting weights and getting, out of the back of a comic book, does the program. Turns himself into Schwarzenegger-esque.
Charles Atlas, yes.
Yeah, Charles Atlas.
I was going to say Teddy Atlas, but that is not correct.
I believe this is the genesis of Omni. And he started off, because he's like, I'll be back, Kirk. You'll be sorry about this. You're going to see me again. You can't stop me.
And then sometime later, Omni appears on a view screen, and Kirk sits up slowly and says, Coriolanus. You still remember, my old friend. I go by Omni these days because what the hell was I thinking, Coriolanus? Let alone Sprat. What the hell was that all about?
I go by Omni these days. By the way, shouldn't you and Spock be getting naked about now? And yeah.
Oh, you're dredging up bad memories. Oh, those were some rough times in the early parts of our journey to Bantam. Oh boy, yeah. So listen, it's interesting because the Klingons and Romulans and Federation immediately go from having nothing in common and competing over this planet to having everything in common and competing over who's going to get to dismember poor Jack Sprat here. A little truth would bring, and then Kirk's like, a little truth would bring down all businesses, all governments. It would destroy the civilized galaxy.
Yeah.
He tells Quince every relationship requires telling little white lies. And then I wrote in parentheses, why your dress does make you look thinner, for example, right?
Yeah.
And he gets it. Peace and a little lies, or truth and war. That's what your choices are. It's like we have to be able to maintain the little lies to be civil to each other. Otherwise, it's going to be the age of social media. Otherwise, is what I'm saying.
The only time that brutal honesty has been known to work in Western civilization, anyway, is Tell the Truth Mondays at Seahawks practice. But other than that, there's no place for complete and utter honesty.
Yep. So eventually they force they decide to force Quince to drink the wine, and then they agree truthfully that it's the Fed maneuver or whatever. So the conference is indefinitely postponed, which is fine. Just like the 200th gala for Gotham City has been indefinitely postponed. Sorry, that might have been a random reference. So then Scotty beams them up, and Scotty gets to beat Quince, which is kind of fun. And Quince begs to be allowed to spread truth around, but Kirk says it's a beautiful dream, but dreams and reality don't coincide.
He says, Scotty, if he tells you he can triple our warp speed, don't let him anywhere near the engine.
That's exactly right. He's full of flim-flam, in other words. So then Kirk comes onto the bridge and says, Sulu, I'm taking back command. We don't hear Sulu say anything, as far as I remember. Sulu gets name dropped, as in he was in command. Even though Scotty was on the ship, Sulu's in command because Scotty's in the engine room.
We didn't get any, hot blonde Uhura either.
We
today,
did not.
Did we?
He says something about her to her, but she doesn't say anything back. So there's no reply at all, as Genesis would say. Phil Collins' voice, no reply at all. All right, so it's fine. By the way, when they draw her in the next comic book, she's going to look like Phil Collins. So. True story. And then here's the real uncomfortable thing is that he calls Bones to the bridge, and Bones is like, I'm already here, buddy. I came up. I heard you were back on the ship. I came up. He's like, all right, Bones, we're going to need you to come up with something that can fix the greatest truth serum ever created. And Spock says something along the lines of, I don't think the Doctor is capable of doing such a thing. And Bones starts to get pissed. And then he's like, never mind. Me saying that, I know you're capable of that, Doctor, and the fact that I can say it means that the truth serum is no longer in effect because I just lied. Oops, Vulcans don't do that.
And then Spock turns into Johnny Cochran and says, and by the way, we got nothing on this guy.
Yeah.
No harm, no foul.
Yeah, you must have quit.
and let him go. And Kirk's like, what, the what, the
He's
what?
committed.
And
We're never going to get tired of that, are we? He did ruin the conference, but Kirk threatens to send him to serve him up to Coffin Bendis, the Klingon and Romulan leaders. And then Quince does get in the last line, "You haven't seen the last of me."
Omni.
And then Spock worries that he was telling the truth. Oh yeah,
I like it.
that's another good ending line. I thought they ended both episodes with pretty decent. That's how a Star Trek episode would have ended in the 60s.
I enjoyed it. I did. It was and I am coming now. We're two into this, 2 of 11. I'm believing more and more already. These are the perfect length.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Just banging them out. 15 minutes. It tells a cohesive story.
Yep.
They're fun.
Yeah. And again, we talked about it. We talked about it in the last episode, right? There are times for Star Trek episodes that are thinking episodes and pondering episodes and philosophical episodes, and there are times for ones that aren't. I don't think you can do a philosophical episode in 15 minutes, but it appears you can tell a fun story in 15 minutes. Yeah. And there's plenty of room in the tool shed for fun short tracks. So far, Absolutely. It seems to be the case. I don't know if they'll ever try to be like philosophical and how that's going to work or not work, but so far, I think it's worked for us. Now, how would you rank the two if you had to say which one did you like better?
I'm trying to remember what happened in Moab because it's been a whole week. That was the cat one.
Yeah.
I'm going to say I like this one better than the cat one.
Ooh, all right. I'm going to say the other way around, but I think they're both pretty close.
They both have flaws. The Moab one has the lady with the R's that's brutal.
Brutal.
And this one has the Jack Sprat thing, which is brutal.
Yes.
But there's a lot of gold in both of them. So, but I'll say I like this one. I did, and maybe it's because I just watched Home Alone and I was like coming out of the desert looking for a drop of water.
Yes, any drop of water when you're dying of thirst is a welcome.
I was, after watching a movie where I smiled twice, no laughs. I laughed probably 6 times during the 15 minutes of this.
Like I said, it reminds me. I think I told you. It reminds me of when we went to Disneyland last December, and it was 4:00 in the afternoon. I'd had nothing but like snacks on an airplane before we get to Disneyland. The first thing we do is go in there, and I buy my first of 10 churros on that trip. And it was a mint chocolate churro, and it was like the best thing I'd ever eaten. And I was like, I don't know if it's good or if it's just I'm starving. And again, first world problem, starving when it's like I'm at Disneyland and I'm like, I'm starving over here. No, you're not. Settle down, boomer. Yeah. But anyway, so I thought this was fun. And I think we got a lot out of it, and I'm happy to keep going. The next episode in our line is episode 3. This one sounds like it might be more serious. The next episode is called "The Crier in Emptiness." So that's and it's only 12 minutes long. So they're really challenging us in how short they can get.
And neither one of us works for the rest of the year.
Oh, so it feels like we're doing an episode a day for the rest of the year. Doesn't it feel like that?
We sure could. I mean, maybe with an exception here and there, but,
Oh, yeah.
I think
Christmas Day is in there somewhere, so yeah.
I think this could be a busy weekend. We might sneak a fight in. We're doing mashups tomorrow.
Yeah, our Christmas episode is tomorrow. And so that would be fun. All right, so stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining us on a short trek. We're calling short audio trek.